Representing the Bearcats is head coach Aaron Smetanka and senior wide receiver Mo Irfan from Bowie, Maryland. We'll start with you, Coach. Last season, you won 5 games for the second straight season, highlighted by winning 4 of the last 5 games and outscoring opponents by a 153-88 margin. How do the Bearcats build off of that momentum from the end of last season and carry it into 2023?
For us, it's being consistent. We saw in that second half of the season, after our bye week, our players were more consistent, whether it had been during little things, the meetings, whether it had been practice, from drill in and drill out, our guys being consistent, from being efficient with what we're getting out of our practices. And that correlated to a lot of good things and finishing out the season strong on the field. And for us, that has really helped out then during our off season, throughout the spring semester. Players in the classroom with the team GPAs, cumulative over a 3.0, being really well on that end, continuously doing the right things then once we hit our lifting periods, and then also once we were in our spring practices. Now the biggest thing coming from that point is what are we going to do now during training camp? Can we be consistent from point in and point out, and then also finish it out, though, and put it all together once we come in here for training camp and have a good training camp going to our first game of the season on September 2nd.
As you come into the training camp for this season, there'll be some new faces on the team this year after losing multi-year starters like Kyle Coombe, quarterback Brady Walker, offensive lineman Austin Nicely, and defensive tackle Cody Johnson. What kind of impact did last year's graduates have on your program, and who are some of the veterans you'll be looking to this year to replace that leadership?
Yes, that class last year was a very special group, not just to myself, but I know the coaches that came in with me. That was our first actual graduated class of 4 years to be in there. So it was special for those guys to be a part of that. Being a part of giving just that opportunity to come in and those guys taking that chance on us to start that first year in 2019, and seeing them go through graduation this past May and now starting their first jobs and doing very well on that end. Now the thing is growing off of that. What are we doing next for this upcoming season? So the players that have been there in that class, this senior class now, with Lyle Irfan here at my side, and the other ones that can be coming in with our senior group, the nice thing is they've been a part of these last few years that actually are the most successful back-to-back in 3 years in a row, being at 500 seasons since that pandemic year. It's the first time it's ever happened in our history of our program, honestly, since the rebirth of the program in 2007.
Little foreshadowing on your part. Your team has won 12 games over the last 3 seasons and is coming off the back-to-back 5-win seasons for the first time since the program returned in 2007. What will it take for the Bearcats to take that next step to get over the 500 hump, and why do you think this year's group can do that?
Play it right back to consistent. From our second half of the season, playing right into our spring practices this past year, and then just the rapport of our guys, talking with them throughout the process, talking them throughout the course of the semester, how they've been on and off the field academically, athletically, what they've done in the community, and giving back to others. But then also the consistency of just communicating and talking with them during the course of the summer, how those guys have shown that and the little things that they've done on their own. Whether if they've been around campus or working jobs here, they're working off campus, they're working internships, or if they're back home in their own home states, those guys have shown that they've been consistent without that mindset, but then making sure we're showing it here once we come into it. That's going to be able to show us, hey, can we take that next step here in 2023?
We've touched on this with other programs about how important the coaching staff is to a program. Your coaching staff has seen several additions over the offseason, including the promotion of longtime assistant John Bell, who had previously served as defensive line coach and strength and conditioning coach. What kind of perspective does he bring into his new role, and what does the addition of these new coaches add to the program?
Yeah, first and foremost, with Coach John Bell moving to his new role, this will be year 32 for him coaching, whether it been at Division II level or whether it's been Division III or even a couple years here and there. He's worked at the high school level. Has been a defensive coordinator before. Has also worked many of the different positions on the defensive side of the ball. So I think that's really helped with him in growth, but it all takes us back to that consistency. We've had 2 previous defensive coordinators of back-to-back years that were really good. One actually, after his first year, he ended up going to Cal U, where now he's a special teams coordinator and defensive line coach. Previous year, then from that, then we had Stephen Meyer, who just finished out for us last year, and then the Pittsburgh Maulers ended up hiring him, and they ended up going to the championship game in the USFL this past year. So we've had good defensive coordinators. Coach John Bell's been a really good part and really helped with those guys in their growth. So seeing the consistency on his end, and take it back to that word, is being consistent where he's been. So he's been here since the rebirth of the program in 2007. He knows the institution here at St. Vincent College. He knows the kids academically. He knows how they're coming into what their struggle is going to be as far as starting out, though, from an athletic standpoint. And he's worked with them as a strength conditioning coordinator. So he spends a lot of time, though, too, on that aspect during the off season. So I think that it's really shown during our spring semester with him now taking those first steps as defensive coordinator and having that rapport with our current players. And then the additions that you mentioned, some of them being promotions, some of them adding new coaches on. Two of them are here this morning, actually with me. This is Coach Robert McElwain. He moved in here from Valdosta State. Was down there 2 years ago to the National Division II Championship, so he's bringing a lot of good experience from that. And then also before that, he was at Slippery Rock University. It was another PAC school that's always consistently in the top 25 and brought a really good experience. And some things we've helped implement with our guys, though, too, just this past semester. The one next to him, Coach Richard Medeiros, he's been with us the last 3 years. Promoted him, though, with his movement. So he's with the tight ends coach. Now he's working hand in hand as our recruiting coordinator. Also with our operations, he's actually going to take that role with Coach Bell now, moving into our strength and conditioning coordinator now, moving here to the 2023 fall season. And the good thing is he has a rapport going back with that consistency. The last 2 years he's been working and assisting with Coach Bell in the weight room. So now he's just going to take that initiative, taking over as that coordinator for that defense, also for the offense, but also working hand in hand with our strength and conditioning now and taking that aspect. And he's already done those little things and working hand in hand with them throughout the course of the summer.
Okay.
With those guys, actually, a few. Then we also added on a linebackers coach from the Miami area. He's played and coached at Division I, Division II. He's also been a head high school coach. So I think that will really help out with a lot of the rapport with our players that are coming from Florida. Well, you have the airlines that are directly across the street from us, 2.2 miles. So a lot of direct flights from there that we have on our team. And then also with the Pittsburgh International Airport. So he's going to really help with our players and also help with our defensive side of the ball, working with the linebackers. Then Coach Jason Ross, who was a walk-on at Penn State University, was a punter, and he's coached at Division II level and was also coached at the high school level. And most currently with his role at the height at Hempfield High School is not too far from us as the assistant athletic director. He's going to be a guy I think that's going to really help out and just purely only work with our specialists during our practices and on games. And I think it's going to give us another vital role, being assistant to our special teams corner, J.J. Eccles, and really be a vital piece of helping our guys during practices and getting prepared for upcoming games.
Okay. Our last question for you gives you a chance to talk about the gentleman sitting next to you. Mo Irfin earned St. Vincent's first All-American honor in the modern era after he was named the D3Football.com All-America team last year as return specialist. What makes Mo special, and how can he add to an already stellar career at St. Vincent?
Yeah, Mo Irfin next to me is a very special player, not just on the field but off the field, more so. How he carries himself around campus, how he carries himself in the community, whether it be community service events that we're doing out there, whether it be in the classroom and making sure he's doing the right things in the classroom, those academically. How he's carrying himself off the field is probably the biggest aspect, is he taking the next step. And I felt like during the course of last season, towards the end of the season, he started being a little bit more vocal. That was the big thing on his end. He's really carried that over in the leadership role this past off season, throughout meetings, throughout the course of our practice, throughout lists. And I think that's really shown with the rapport of our program and our players and our coaching staff. Now it's taking the next step then for him and doing those things consistently as we're coming to our training camp. And I believe he's going to continuously do those things because he's shown throughout the course of time. And he's really put it together now as we're coming here in the really stronghold here of August coming into next week's training camp, though.
Okay. Thanks, Coach. And now, Mo, a couple questions for you. After coming off an All-American season and being one of the top receivers in the conference, how do you stay motivated for the upcoming season and look to improve on an already impressive career as a Bearcat?
I just have to be better than yesterday. I have a lot of goals and a lot of personal reasons for I want to reach those. So, I just wake up every single day with those in my mind. So I do my best to do what it takes to get there one day. But right now, I'm more focused on the goals we have as a team. We're trying to be different this year, have a different mentality. So, I'm just excited to, get into camp, be around my brothers, and start chasing what we're chasing.
You're the first St. Vincent player in the modern era to earn All-American honors and the first player since running back Michael Scatina was named Associated Press Little All-American in 1960. What does it mean to you to be part of such a prestigious group at St. Vincent?
All glory to God first and foremost, but that's an honor. It's a blessing to be one. It's a good feeling knowing that my name will be a part of the history here. But I know that I wouldn't have been able to get that award without my teammates. So, football is the ultimate team game. We all need each other for one of us to be successful. So, I'm just thankful for my coaches, thankful for my teammates, because, they played a big part in me getting that award.
Coach touched on you developing into more of a leader through last season. Going into your senior year, you'll be looked upon to be a veteran leader for what is shaping up to be a pretty young team. How do you lead by example, and what can you teach the new faces and underclassmen about the St. Vincent way and what it takes to succeed in the PAC?
I mean, this past postseason, a main focus has really been just coming together more as a family. You know, we're really focused on us, really focused on what we got to do to be better. I know that's something that me and the other leaders have been emphasizing. You know, we have a lot of hungry players, a lot of talented players, incoming and returners. So, you know, we're just trying to build a culture, build a strong culture, you know, one that emphasizes that we're going to need to be together through everything.
We've touched many times on you being an All-American from last year. Now we'll get to read some of the numbers that helped you earn that honor. Last season, 16 of your kick returns went for 25 yards or more, including a 100-yard touchdown return against Waynesburg, just the fourth kick return touchdown in the modern era and the longest play in program history. You were also ranked second in the PAC in receptions and touchdown receptions while compiling 732 receiving yards, which was good for third in the PAC. During a time where we see more and more true return specialists, how do you balance your extensive roles on both special teams and offense?
I mean, I just try to take being a receiver and a returner very seriously. Over the past 3 years, you know, I've had to earn the trust of my teammates and my coaches, you know, to get the ball in my hand to try to always be successful. So, you know, I just try to be a weapon at both in order to help us win. And, you know, sometimes it can be tiring, but my coaches understand that, and they do a good job of, you know, letting me get breaks if I need them. But, you know, we have a talented squad, so we don't really miss a beat no matter who's in the game.
Okay. Similar to the question asked of Coach, how did the Bearcats get over the 500 hump and take the next step this season?
I think for us to get over that hump, we're going to need to be able to handle adversity better. You know, if we're able to do that as a family, as a team, that's going to help us grow, you know, mold us as a team. So, you know, I think for us it's just staying together, you know, handling one thing at a time and just being together through everything.
Outstanding. Thank you, Mo, and thanks again to Coach Smetanka. The Bearcats will open the 2023 season with a home game here in Latrobe against Washington and Jefferson.